Thank you for joining the MSRDC webinar. It is now 2 o'clock. The broadcast will start shortly. Thank you for joining the MSRDC webinar. The broadcast will start shortly. We're going to give a few more minutes for others to join. Hello, everyone. The webinar will now begin. Welcome to the Minority Serving Institutions Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics Research and Development Consortium's webinar. You can call us the MSRDC for short. Today's topic is the request for white paper submission and informational webinar. A few housekeeping items for the webinar. The system has automatically muted you to ensure the quality of our audio. During the presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in writing in the questions text box that should be available to you. During the Q&A at the end of the webinar, we will address specific questions. Following the webinar, we will post the presentation and the Q&As on our website. For the webinar agenda, we will try to keep this moving fairly quickly. We appreciate your time. The agenda, as you see on the screen, will provide information about the MSRDC, information about ECBC, which is the Edgewood Chemical and Biological Center, information on the technology objective areas for the white papers, white paper submission processes, and finally, a Q&A session. For today's webinar, I will be the acting moderator. My name is Malik Hopkins. I am the Vice President and COO of MSRDC. I would like to thank Edgewood Chemical and Biological Center for participating in today's webinar. From ECBC, we have Adam Seipel, who is the Consortium Agreements Manager, who is a driving force behind the successful funding of the consortium. I would also like to introduce Dr. Robert Kristovich, who will lend his expertise to discuss some of the technology objective areas of interest for the white paper submissions. Additionally, we may have Dr. Rick Cox participating, who will also lend his expertise as well. The MSRDC was funded under a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Army's ECBC. Under this $86 million agreement, the MSRDC is assembling a consortium of minority-serving institutions that will respond to some of the imperatives of our nation's Department of Defense. Each of your institutions has been contacted to be a part of the MSRDC, and a good portion of the institutions represented today have submitted their membership applications for a consortium membership and are currently in receipt of the Consortium Membership Agreement, CMA for short. If you would like to know more about the MSRDC, please join us for tomorrow's Consortium Membership Information webinar scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. You will find a link on our webpage. If you aren't sure whether your institution has submitted its membership application and/or its CMA, please feel free to contact me in an email. At this point, I would like to reintroduce Adam Seipel, who will take us through an overview of ECBC. Adam, I will call up the other presentation, and please feel free to take it away.
Thanks, Malik. I'm Adam Seipel. I'm here with Dr. Bob Kristovich and Dr. Rick Cox. I want to do a quick overview of ECBC for those of you that don't know what we do. So if we can see the slides, go ahead to the next slide, Malik. So ECBC is the premier laboratory in the U.S. for non-medical chemical biological defense solutions. So when we say non-medical, that means any kind of equipment that does not go inside the body. So anything outside the skin is non-medical, such as protective equipment, detectors, and all other kinds of solutions to the warfighter that are outside the skin. We've been here for almost 100 years. 2017 will be our 100-year anniversary. So we've been doing chemical biological defense for a long time. Next slide. These are our brand new mission and vision statements. So we're looking to provide a world-class solutions, period. We have a lot of expert chemists and biologists and engineers, and we operate, even though we are Army, we are the government, we operate like a business, and we provide solutions and products to all kinds of U.S. government agencies. Next slide. So a little bit of our history. Where we're at, we're in APG, Aberdeen Proving Ground, Edgewood area in Maryland, and that land was given to the government, or sold to the government in 1915, and it was established as Edgewood Arsenal, where we made offensive chemical weapons. And slowly that has evolved to, over the years, to in the 70s when we signed the Biological Weapons Convention Treaty to stop making biological weapons. And then later in the early 90s when we signed the Chemical Weapons Convention Treaty, where we stopped making chemical weapons. So that was where our mission totally shifted to defensive posture, which we've been since then. And so we're built to respond to the threat of chemical and biological weapons. Where historically we were looking at battlefield scenarios of huge clouds of chemical biological agent coming across the field, to our more modern threats. You can see the example of the anthrax letter there in the early 2000s, and more non-state sponsored terrorist acts. Next slide. So where we fit within the Army, we are part of the U.S. Army, and you can see we are part of the Army Materiel Command, which is a 4-star general level, and we're part of the U.S. Army RDECOM 2-star general level, and there we are under them. On the left-hand side, also part of the Army, the Surgeon General. These are the medical labs. There are partners that work with products to go inside the skin, such as medical countermeasures and other medical applications. Going to the right of ECBC there, under the Assistant Secretary of the Army Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology, or ASALT. This is the JPO for Chem Defense. That's the office that is one of our major customers. That is the Acquisition Program Manager. So that's the office that actually takes our technologies and turns them into products for the warfighter. There's also the Program Executive Office for Assemble Chemical Weapons Alternative. That's the office that we perform work for as far as destruction of the chemical stockpile in the United States. We also partner with the U.S. Army Chem School, which is at Fort Leonard. That's where a lot of the requirements are developed by the warfighter for chemical biological defense. And finally, the 20th Submarine Command. It's also here at Edgewood, Aberdeen Proving Grounds, and they are the users of a lot of the equipment that we develop. Next slide. So some of our core capabilities. One of our major capabilities is chemistry and biological sciences, and the science for technology for emerging threats. That's what a lot of topic areas that we're talking about now will fall into those two areas. We also have a lot of capabilities for analysis and testing, subverting material acquisition, which is we have a large rapid prototyping facility which can do large-scale prototyping and some additive manufacturing. And one of our main core competencies is the ability to handle agents, surety agents. Where surety is these are the most hazardous agents, such as VX and sarin, and we can operate with those within our laboratories. And finally, the capability of CP munitions and field operations. We're able to go to sites around the world and demil and destroy chemical weapons that are found. Next slide. Here's a quick shot of our leadership. Dr. Joe Corville is our director. He just started in the job officially in January, and he is very much supporting this initiative with MSRDC. And we have 3 directorates: program integration, engineering, and research and technology. And a lot of the work and the topics that ECBC is working for is under the research technology directorate under Dr. Berg, who's the acting director. Next slide. Take a look at our workforce. We have about 1,400 people, a quarter of which are support contractors. Largely, our civilian workforce is made up of chemists, biologists, and engineers. And largely, they are able to be, they are part of the personnel reliability program, which means they can work with hazardous agents with hands-on lab agents. So look at our facilities here. Over 1.2 million square feet of critical laboratory space. We have a lot of great facilities, very unique facilities, and if any of you want to take a look, we can definitely host some tours. Next slide. A couple of examples of projects we've done recently. Well, that's animated. The field deployable hydrolysis system is the system that we developed to destroy the sarin chemical stockpile. You may have heard about this on the news, where within 6 months we designed, built, and operated this system that was put on the Cape Ray, the ship in the Mediterranean, and with our international and interagency partners, we were able to successfully demill and destroy 500 tons of chemical weapons, including mustard and precursors for sarin. Next slide. And another example is the CREST kit, which is a colorimetric reconnaissance explosive squad screening kit, which is a small handheld disposable kit that can screen for explosives. So an example of something that's now transitioning, we developed here, that's transitioning to the warfighter. And finally, wrapping up technology transfer, we do a lot of partnering with academia and industry and other governments. So this consortium is one way for us to work with academia, but we also have a lot of CRADAs, cooperative research and development agreements with universities, so we can do some one-on-one agreements and work together. Next slide. So that's our story, and if you have any questions, I can answer questions in the Q&A session. So back to you, Malik.
Thank you, Adam. So I'd like to get into the technology objective areas. These are areas that have been identified by the government as priority areas for funding. Currently, we have 4 technology objective areas that we are requesting white papers on. Additional technology areas will be added and redacted throughout the year and will be provided through amendments on the government's Federal Business Opportunities page, also known as FBO. The 4 technology objective areas include topic number 1, which is models for use in predictive toxicology. Topic number 2, science of chemical and biological protection. Topic number 3, science of chemical and biological sensing. And topic number 4, which is smoke and obscuration science. At your earliest convenience, I would recommend going to FBO and downloading and reviewing all the materials. At this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Kristovich to take us through the first topic area. Dr. Kristovich, if you don't mind.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to talk to you about our call here for predictive toxicology white papers. This is a PEM-focused call, so we're looking for white papers to address novel methods of assessing the toxicity of organophosphate compounds, particularly. So right now, our main goal is to generate human estimates of toxicity. We do that through in vivo methods, and it's a slow and highly costly endeavor to go through the process and develop a human estimate of toxicity. And really what we're looking for is a way of streamlining the process through incorporation of in vitro and in silico models that we can then correlate back and confirm with in vivo studies and really streamline the process a little bit. So that's really, we're interested in effects on any organ system. We're interested in metabolism. You know, of course, with when we're talking about organophosphate compounds, we'll be particularly interested in like the target organ systems, being the heart, lung, and brain. But we are clearly still interested in liver and kidney and muscle as well, because really all the systems are connected. So that's kind of where we're at and what we're looking for. I did want to point out something on the page. My phone number is listed incorrectly. So if you would like to get in touch with me, it is 410-436-4293, not 39. But feel free to contact me by phone or by email. It's probably the easier way of getting in touch with me. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. But really what we're looking for, again, is that correlation between animal and human, and looking for areas of, you know, similarity and differences that we can incorporate into our human estimates and processes.
All right, great. Thank you, Dr. Kristovich. Moving forward, topic number 2, as I stated earlier, is the science of chemical and biological protection. We anticipate that funding will be available very soon for topics 2 and 3, and I would encourage each of you to review the information and begin preparing for a response. Adam, is Dr. Cox available, or would you like to speak to topic 2 and 3?
He's here.
Great. I would like to hand this over to Dr. Cox for further discussion. Dr. Cox?
Thanks. So this topic I'll break down into 3 major areas, sort of summarize it. Essentially what we're dealing with is the underlying science of protection. That covers the chemistry, novel chemistries, how things react, whether they be agents, toxic industrial chemicals, or materials, not only chemically but also physically. That's with regard to things such processes such as absorption, diffusion, and diffusivity, and material in general, material and contaminant and decontaminant interactions. So again, the first area is sort of the basic science, the underpinnings of protection. The next step, sort of advancing to the technology, is the material science. So taking some of those chemistries and putting them in engineered material form, looking at different material modifications and synthesis, looking at novel multifunctional materials. So not only a material that may be applicable to a suit, for example, as a barrier, but also material that's reactive, that mitigates the threat, and possibly one that also can serve as a sensing element. So looking at materials on all levels and for multiple applications. And then finally, the last part of that, of the 3 areas, is the product. So more applied, but looking at things such as novel technologies for masks, suits, gloves, filters, integrating the first 2 areas, the basic science and material science, but also looking at novel technologies in and of themselves. Is there a novel way a mask could be configured? Is there a model that we may not be aware of or haven't looked at that could improve the airflow? Is there a novel gas storage system that could improve the performance of our SCBA gear? Perhaps there's a surface treatment for a garment, things like that. So anything from the basic science all the way to a fielded item, novel improvements in them, and perhaps areas which we may not have explored in the past is a general summation of what we're interested in. You can see again some of the finer points there in the paragraph and the research areas 1 through 6. And as Dr. Kristovich said, the best way to reach me is probably by email, but my phone number is also there and it is correct. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Cox. The next topic is the science of chemical and biological sensing. Adam, would you be able to speak a little bit about this topic, or one
Yeah,
of your?
I can talk a little bit about it.
Right.
So this topic is pretty generic in the sense that we're looking at basically looking at novel ways for sensing the chemical and biological agents in all forms: aerosol, on surfaces, liquid, and the topic is pretty detailed. It lists 10 different research areas that we'd be interested in. That includes anything from environmental sample detection to actual diagnostics for diagnosing exposure. I do want to note that topics 2, the protection topic, this topic have been identified for funding. It has not been officially announced yet, but I would suspect that with this first white paper call, we will be able to fund topics that are selected for the detection and sensing topics. And regarding that, under the research areas number 4, the remote early warning sensing will not be, or can you go back a slide, Malik? Oh, you took it out of there.
That is correct.
So yeah, thanks. So it's already taken out of his slides, but on the official call, number 4, remote early warning sensing is not included with the research area per the sponsor's request. So Cindy Swim wasn't available right now to take questions, but if you have any specific questions about this, I'd be more than happy to forward them to her, or I'm sure you can reach out to her afterward. That's all I got, Malik.
Great. Thanks, Adam. All right. The final topic area is smoke and obscuration science. Funding is subject to availability of funds. That means the funds have not been identified yet. However, as with all of the other topics, I would encourage you to review and to possibly begin the preparation of a white paper in anticipation that funds may become available. Adam, is there any thing that you would like to add to the smoke and obscuration science technology objective area?
I don't have anything to add. It's already there.
Okay. Now we can get into the specific white paper format and requirements. As I iterated earlier, I would recommend to everyone to go to fbo.gov and download the solicitation and the amendments. There are 3 amendments that have been posted. Now, the submission of the white paper is fairly straightforward. The first call for white papers is due Monday, June 1st. That is for technology objective area number 1, the predictive toxicology area. Each white paper must be submitted as an electronic file via email. All material must be submitted in Microsoft Office format. So that means PowerPoint or Word. I know it's pretty standard for us to all put everything into Adobe. However, for our purposes, please keep it in Microsoft Office format. As I stated earlier, the due date is Monday, June 1st, and submission date for topic 2 and 3 is anticipated for release, and that will be posted on the FBO website as well as the MSRDC website. But as I stated earlier, if you've got some ideas in those areas, please begin developing your white papers now in anticipation of the funding becoming available. You want to get those in early so that the government can have a chance to review those and get the feedback back to you. White papers must be submitted to michael.hester@msrdcconsortium.org. Now, there are some components that each white paper must include. Number 1 being the cover chart or the cover page. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail on the following slides, as well as the quad chart and the white paper narrative. If needed, you can have 1 backup sheet in addition to the 4 that are included in the white paper narrative. Now, as I iterated earlier, competition is limited to CMA-signed consortium members only. If you're unsure whether your institution has signed its CMA or submitted its membership application, send me an email and I can tell you what the current status is. Now, the annual white paper process is provided on this next slide. Each white paper will be submitted to MSRDC, and we will conduct a compliance check and either return the white paper to you with any compliance issues that need to be rectified for resubmission, or it will be submitted to the government agreements specialist, who will submit them to the government agreements officer. The agreements officer will provide the white paper to the technical review teams that will rank and rate the white papers. Papers receiving a high or medium ranking may be issued a request for research proposal, and all white papers will be provided back to the applicant with comments. White papers that do not receive requests for research proposals will be kept on file for 2 years and may or may not during that time receive a request for research proposal. During the development of your white papers, as iterated by the ECBC staff earlier, please feel free to contact the technical points of contact listed in the solicitation and also provided at the end of this presentation. For the cover page, it's a fairly straightforward process. You'll need to provide the name and address of the offerer and any subrecipients that may participate in your proposal. We'll need a title of the proposal, which will include what the objective area is, topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, topic 4, the duration of the proposed effort, as well as the names and telephone numbers of any points of contact who can be reached for clarification by the technical office. We'll need a date of submission and signature of the official that's authorized to submit the white paper. Under the CMA, you will have a technical point of contact that is listed for each institution. That is the person that is authorized to submit your white paper under the agreement. Also provide a rough estimate of cost. This is just an estimate because during the request for research proposal process, it is at that point that we'll be asking for further delineation of where funding will be going and what it will be used for. Now, for the quad charts, the most important aspect of your white paper may in fact be the quad charts. Quad charts must be submitted in PowerPoint in the format as it is shown here. All quad charts must include a heading, which will include the title, research area address, the topic number, the title of the topic number, the principal investigator, and your institution. As you can see, in each of the boxes, there's specific information that's going to be requested. In the upper left box, we would like to see a description of effort, as well as challenges and risks. And in the lower left box, we would like to see proposed technical approach and the benefits of the proposed effort. In your upper right box, a picture or graphic illustrating your proposed effort will be required. And in the lower right box, we're looking at a rough estimate of costs, as well as a cost schedule, deliverables, and contact information. Now, the PowerPoint quad chart must be prepared in landscape format, and the title font should be 24 point, and the text font should be 12 point. The file naming convention will be MSRDC quad chart, followed by what your topic area is. For the white paper narrative, we ask that you expand upon what was included in the quad chart. You have a maximum of 4 pages at 12 point times New Roman type to provide additional information regarding your idea. Now, at this stage in the process, you do not want to include any proprietary data, trade secrets, or anything of that nature. that will be something that will be left for the request for research proposal. At that point, if you have any type of data that falls under those categories, you would want to present it there. Do not exceed 4 pages, single spaced with 1-inch margins. You also want to limit your content to just a further explanation of the information in the quad chart. And we would recommend that wherever possible, you provide as much statistical data as well as any readily available literature that supports your idea. We would also recommend that you address any prior work in the proposed area of study. If you've got any projects that you've currently undertaken or you've undertaken in the past that will be a precursor to the work that you're doing or that you're proposing, we would recommend that you list that information as well. We would also recommend that you outline any collaboration that's planned for the proposed effort. For the MSRDC, you may collaborate with majority institutions, you may collaborate with other minority serving institutions, you may collaborate with industry. However, any proposed collaboration, your institution must conduct the bulk of the, or quote unquote, the preponderance of the work under any award made under this cooperative agreement. We would recommend that you do not include your CVA or any of your personal or past qualifications at this time. So what I would like to do at this time is I would like to open up the floor to questions and answers. For the sake of the audio, please keep your microphones muted until you have a question. However, I would recommend that you put your question in writing. That way we can make sure that we have a record of your question and can ensure that the answer is posted along with the webinar on the website. In a few minutes, I will go ahead and open up the floor to questions, so bear with me for just one moment. All right, I would like to, as a reminder, if you are, I am unmuting everyone, so we will be able to hear you.
I finish up and prepare to write the manuscripts. I test how.
Hello, everyone. We're having some audio difficulties. If I shouldn't unmute everyone, what you can either do is there is a button in which you can raise your hand, and if I see that your hand is raised, I will go ahead and unmute your phone or your microphone. And in the meantime, we will also go through any of the written questions. All right, I have a hand up. I have John Rayner. John, I've unmuted you. Go ahead and ask your question. Hello, John, are you there? All right, let's go ahead and start with the questions and answers. For topic 2, infectious disease diagnostic applications are eligible. That would be a question for Dr. Cox. The question is, infectious disease diagnostic applications, are they eligible? Under topic 2. Sorry, Dr. Cox, you were muted there for a moment.
Yep. No, that would not be applicable to topic 2.
Okay. I have another question, hand raised from Justin Wilson. I've unmuted your phone, Justin. Can you go ahead and ask your question? Hello, Justin, are you there? All right, an additional question. How many white papers can be submitted by the institution per topic? It is my understanding that you may submit as many white papers as are eligible or fall under the category, or that you feel would fall under the categories. There is no limit on the number of white papers that you may submit. When do you anticipate due dates for the topic 2 white paper? Adam, would you like to answer that one?
We haven't entirely figured it out, but I'm guessing 2 weeks after the June 1st, so mid-June was what I'm suspecting, but we'll be announcing that as soon as we know.
Okay.
I would still do as much as you can to prepare for the June 1st date. So it's not going to be, you're not going to have extra months to do it. It's going to be a week or 2.
Okay. This question is going to be for you, Dr. Kristovich. Are there any particular organophosphate groups that you are interested in?
I would limit it to the pesticides primarily. They're a good model, I guess, for what we're interested in here, and would probably transition.
Great, thank you. The next question is, what is the ballpark funding? I can take that. There really is no ballpark funding. It depends upon what you are proposing and what is required by what you are proposing. Next question, for topic 1, can I submit a topic dealing with kidney disease and hypertension? That would be it. What was that, Dr. Kristovich?
I was just going to say, if it could be related back to chemical defense with organophosphates, I could see perhaps maybe an exacerbation or something, but not directly just that topic. No.
The next question, are there examples of successful white papers available online? We've discussed providing some samples, and we are currently still working that out. A lot of the samples that we would have, we would need to receive permission from the institutions that may have provided them, and there may be some information that they would not like for us to provide. So we are still working on that, and we'll get something out shortly, either in the way of a sample or in the way of an additional webinar that provides some of the best practices for developing white papers. Next question is, kindly emphasize on your analysis of correlation and validation of the experiments. Any particular statistical analysis? I'm going to have to couple points of contact on that question. Do you need me to repeat it?
No. I think, whatever, really, it's whatever is appropriate to the experiment. I mean, if you're looking between groups, the ANOVA might be good enough. But no, we're not looking for anything particular. Just make it representative for the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Next question, Adam, I'll let you take this one. When is the proposal due once invited to write one?
So if we have June 1st is the white paper due date, we'll need a few weeks to review that. You need to be notified to be asked to write a full proposal at that point if the white paper seems acceptable. And then we're looking at a full month after that to be able to write the proposals. So we're probably looking at mid to late June to the end of July being the due date for the time required to write the white paper, the proposals. So probably due at the end of July.
Thank you. Does the 4-page narrative limit include cited references? That is correct. However, you can use space on your 1-page backup sheet if you need to. The next question is, when would we know the fate of our white paper? As Adam stated, probably about 2 weeks out after receiving them, you would have some feedback on your white paper. If prior to the submission date, so if you provided your white paper, say, a few days before the submission date, there were compliance issues with your white paper, we would attempt to send it back to you in time to submit it by the submission date. The next question, will these slides be available online after this webinar? We will post a copy of the slides to the website as well as a recording of this webinar. Is there a time limit, or the next question is there a time limit to the period of proposed funding? It is my understanding that there is not a time limit. However, Adam, do you have anything to add to that?
We have we're kind of on time crunch for topics 2 and 3. I mean, that's why the white paper call is due so soon, and will be soon for 2 and 3. And topic 1 has a little more time, but we're thinking that's why we extended the due date for the white papers to give you some more time to respond to topics 2 and 3. Essentially, we need to have the projects identified by the end of the fiscal year.
Actually, Adam, I think on this question, they're probably asking about the duration of the.
That depends on what the project you want to do. We're probably looking at doing year to year, but we'll look at multi-year proposals. But right now, we can only fund a year at a time.
Thank you. Here's another question, I believe, for Dr. Kristovich. In topic 1, should one or more pesticides be identified in the white paper?
I don't think that's required, but I don't think that would be necessarily a bad thing to have a point of comparison. But again, it's going to depend on the design that you're interested in. But that's not required.
Thank you. Next question. If a collaboration is necessary, do we specify a percentage allocated to the collaborator, or do we just state that they would serve as a consultant? I'm thinking that one over. Adam, do you have an opinion on that one?
Well, like you said, Malik, remember the consortium has to do the preponderance of the work, and I think for the purpose of the white paper, you can just list your collaborators. When we ask to do a full proposal, we'll need specific details as far as the work breakdown for who's doing what in the proposal.
Thank you. This may be a question for you, Adam, that we may need to explore with contracts. Can we request high-cost equipment for the research?
As long as it supports the proposal and it's part of your cost estimate, yes.
All right, those are all of the written questions that I have. I'm going to go ahead and see if anyone has their hand raised, and we'll attempt again to get a verbal question if you have one. Currently, I'm not seeing any hands raised. However, feel free to add any additional questions that you may have in the text box. Also, if any questions come to you after the webinar, please go ahead and email them to me, and I will attempt to get them answered as well. Let's see, I have one final question. Can you clarify on the budget for each proposal? As Adam said earlier, I think the budget will rely on what it is that you're proposing and the cost reasonableness of what it is that you'll need to actually conduct the research. So the budget will be entirely up to the principal investigators and will be directly tied to what it is that you are proposing. If you have any additional questions, please go ahead and either type them or go ahead and raise your hand. I have two hands raised, but I'm not sure how long they've been raised. I have a Justin Wilson. Justin, do you have a question? Hello, Justin.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, so I had a question. I'm not sure if I heard it or not. I had issues with audio, but is there a limit for the amount of personnel? Like if you wanted to have a postdoc to do some of the research, or is there a line in the budget for to hire researchers?
I believe as long as it's directly tied to the research, then it is allowed. We actually encourage the use of postdocs and other students in your research. That is part of
Okay.
the objective of the MSRDC.
So can we write students in as well, like undergraduate students, and as well as far as
as long as it's directly tied to the research, I don't see that that would be an issue.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I do have another question regarding the budget. Should the budget be included in the white paper? The budget does not need to be included in the white paper, or at least not the full budget. We would expect to see a rough estimate as well as a cost schedule in your narrative. But the full-blown budget should not be included in your white paper submission. I hope that answers your question. All right, I'm going to go ahead and check for any other hands raised. At this time, I do not see any. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to type them in or go ahead and raise your hand. Justin, do you have another question? If so, you were.
No, I do not have another question.
Okay, thank you.
Is my hand raised? Sorry.
All right, is John Raynor available? John, your hand is raised as well. All right. I think that may be it for the questions. I'll do a quick run through the written questions one more time. I do not see any additional questions. As I stated earlier, if you do have questions that come to you, please forward them to either myself, or if they're specifically related to one of the topic areas, please send those questions to the points of contact listed under each topic area. That is a good question. One last question. Does the panel have any questions for the audience? Adam, Dr. Krisovich, Dr. Cox, do you have any questions for the audience?
We don't have any specific questions, and I guess one question I had is if you have any feedback. This is the first time we're doing this. This is our first call. If you have any feedback to us, let us know about it. And also want to say that I know there's only 4 topics right now, and 3 of them are funded, and we're working to expand the topics to more technical areas. But being this is our first call, I think it's a pretty good start, and we're hoping to see a lot of good white papers.
All right, thank you, everyone. This concludes our first webinar on the white paper submission process. Please visit our website and you will find a copy of the presentation as well as a copy of the actual webinar for your review. Thank you for your time, and once again, if you have any additional questions, please forward them on to me. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.